Okay, hello people out there in internet land. Welcome to the Land Down Under Hangout, and tonight we are talking about Karina's pick, which was Six of Crows by the author who I cannot remember her name right now.
Leigh.
Thank you very much, everybody. And that way, if she discovers this, I won't be too embarrassed. Okay. For some reason. Anyway, so tonight we are just going to start off with what we thought. So I'm going to start in order tonight because usually I shake it up. So that means, Naomi, you're first.
So I really enjoyed it. I listened to the audiobook because at the time when I listened to it, which would have been about 3-4 months ago, I didn't really have time to read. And so I loved it. I loved the way it did take a little bit to get into, like getting used to all the different characters. That did take a bit because the audiobook does have all the characters in different voices. And that did take a little bit to get used to. But once I sort of got used to it, getting to feel how other characters felt about each other just by through tone of voice as well really made the book, gave it an extra depth. And I really enjoyed that.
Cool. Karina?
Well, it's my pick and I had already read it, so I feel like it goes without saying that I really enjoyed it. I like that while it is YA, it feels like a heist rather than your traditional fantasy YA where, you know, there's some sort of rescue or some sort of war or something going on. It just, I really enjoyed the heist aspect of it. Obviously, I listened to the audiobook as well, and I agree with Nay that listening to it at first was really jarring, trying to get used to having multiple narrators. And obviously, then those narrators have to voice the other characters as well. So you get used to listening to one narrator speaking for a character, but also voicing all of the other characters. And then you switch to a different narrator. And especially the woman who voiced, is it Nina? The voice that she used for Kaz, every single time I was like, please stop. But that's like such a minor criticism. I really liked the interaction between the characters. Just a quality book. And I listened to it a second time before this hangout, mostly so that this is a duology. I didn't want to talk about anything from the second book by accident. And I'm really glad that I listened to it again because there was something that I really wanted to talk about that I went, oh shit, that's actually in the second book. And listening to it a second time was just as exciting as listening to it the first time for me.
Cool. Elizabeth?
I adore magical heists, so this was a great book. I really loved it. I recently just read The Gilded Walls by Roshani Chokshi, which is another magical heist book, although that one's set in Paris in 1889. I saw a lot of similarities between them, so I think that if you liked one, it might be cool to check out the other. And I knew in the back of my head that it was a duology, but when it wasn't like something that I'd kept in the forefront of my mind. So when it hit the end, I was like, God damn it. Now I have to get the next book.
I feel like duologies are definitely worse for that than trilogies.
Yes, but it's less of an investment. I feel like at least I only need to read one more book to get fulfillment for this story that I'm reading.
Whereas if I had $1 for every trilogy that I've read the first 2 books of and then gone, I want to read the third one. Whereas with a duology, that's it. It's just the 2.
I agree. It's not a criticism as in it's bad. It was just more of a noticing factor that like I can often finish the first book of a trilogy and just leave it there, whereas duologies almost never leave me feeling that way. Anyway, Kim.
I really loved it too, and I was going to say, it had that heist aspect, but in a kind of magical world. And I did listen to the audiobook as well. I don't think it was as jarring as much for me with the different voices, because what I had listened to before was The Way of Kings in graphic audio. So I think it was less jarring because that's the thing I listened to just before I started this. So although it was kind of strange to have like the narrator narrating this the voices of the other characters and then switching to a different narrator and
Yeah,
then
'cause it's gonna
voicing.
say-
It was a little odd, but I think it was less odd because I just come off of the Brandon Sanderson graphic audio one.
Actually, that probably helped me with.
Kirsten?
You go. Did you want to say something?
Me or who?
Sarah.
Oh, it was just a thought on the Brandon Sanderson one, which I thought that Karina and Naomi made a really interesting point. I hadn't thought of that because I was like, oh, in The Way of Kings, we had two, different narrators, but they weren't interacting. The characters weren't interacting with one another. So when they said, oh, well, you were hearing the other character, I was like, oh, that's a really interesting point. So thank you for raising that.
And 6 of them. Like 2 is one thing. This was 6 of them.
Yeah, so I totally get it, and that's why I sort of reflected. We've been there, but no, it's actually no, we haven't. I haven't experienced what you were talking about. Yeah, it would be very hard. So anyway, that was my only comment. Sorry.
I didn't even know who it was that was talking about it. I just heard someone start to say something, and then I was like, oh, I'll just wait. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I think there's a thing with me at the moment is that I'm just not getting into books that are not audio very well. And it's because I don't get time to read until it's bedtime, and then I'm exhausted and I get like one chapter read and before I pass out, and then I'm like, I have to try and remember where I'm up to and what I'm going with. And it wasn't just this book. That's pretty much anything I read in a physical way instead of as an audio book. And hopefully, as the kids get a bit older and I get a bit more time to read besides bedtime, that will go away, because I do kind of miss that kind of reading. But I did really enjoy it, and I've started the second one. I started reading the second one from the library, and I got probably about 6 chapters in, and then I had to take it back to the library, and I couldn't renew it because somebody else had it. So I got the second book as audio, and it's really interesting to hear the comments about all the characters and stuff, because I think I'm connecting to the characters better in the audio, probably partly because I'm getting more chunks at a time because I'm driving for like an hour and a half a day and listening to a lot at once, and partly because of that voice thing. It's really quite interesting. There's a few little nuances of character that I picked up that I probably wouldn't have from the book. I don't like Kaz, and I think I'm supposed to, but because I've heard so many reviewers carry on about how awesome he is, and I'm like,
he's just a bit of a twat. He has redeeming factors that you can kind of get to if you kind of look hard enough. But no,
guys, let's go into characters a little bit later. Let's just finish off our briefing.
Yeah, I think the reason I bring that up is it does make it hard for me to enjoy a book if I don't love the character. But then I liked a lot of the other characters, so it was kind of that ensemble cast thing going on. But yeah, I did quite enjoy it, but I think I'm enjoying the second one more, and I think it's probably because it's an audio book.
Sarah?
I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was great. My main issue was I do not believe these people are 17 years of age.
That's the only problem I had with the whole
I
thing.
had a huge issue with, like, the whole time. I'm like, you do not, like, I know this is a different world and you've all had a hard life, but especially for Kaz, I was like, you do not get this much. You do not turn into Danny Ocean by age 17. I'm sorry, right? It's like, you don't have all the answers. I mean, I'm 43 and I don't have all the answers. So that was my main thing.
Forgot they were. I was young until I re-listened to the first book, and they were talking about how young they all were, and I went, "Oh yeah, because in my head they were just in their 20s, like
right,
I
could totally believe them being in their 20s with a bit more hardened under their belt, and that was my main issue, was that they kept that would seem to be the thing. But I kind of get where it's coming from the author. She's like, she's writing characters that are probably going to be read by those, like, not necessarily the same age, but probably more like tweens, like 10, 11, 12, 13. And it sort of seems like it might be like they're like me, but they're a bit older than me kind of feel, but I found that tough. And then because of that, I didn't quite know how old others in the universe were. Like I couldn't quite place it. And very similar, Kaz I had issues because he ain't no Danny Ocean, It was a huge lack of charisma. But I liked Inej. She's the one who with the slippers, right? She was really cool. Yeah. I really liked her. I thought she had a really interesting outlook and had it was very interesting. And I thought the whole thing around slavery, like basically like it's kind of like legalized slavery, this indenture type thing, I thought that was an interesting aspect to it, which we could possibly talk about as far as themes were concerned, because it seems to be like, there's no slavery except gatherers. So that was kind of interesting. The other thing that I had, which I'd love to talk about from a YA novel point of view, was the fact that they had brothels and that both of the female characters had been working in brothels. One was still working in a brothel, one had been indentured to a brothel. I mean, that makes you hard and that gives you a hard life, but I kind of felt like, am I just too sensitive to this stuff to think this might be a little bit like not being like, I don't know, not being seen as tough as it is for YA, or is it a case of I'm just being a bit sensitive because I'm like, I've got 26 more years experience in the characters in this book, and like when you're young, you're younger, you're aware of brothels, but you're not quite aware of how people end up working in the sex trade and that type of thing.
Anyway, Sarah,
that was just,
move on, Bobby. We'll get there later. Yeah, go, Bobby.
Okay, so like I said, I didn't finish it because I struggled so much to get into the book. Like, I tried the audiobook, and the guy who did Just in the beginning put me to sleep. It was like him on Xanax. I could not stay awake for it. And my partner, who would listen to it with me because we put audiobooks on together at night, he was like, he got all the way through the book, and he's like, it's great, you need to finish it. I could not get past the first character. It drove me nuts. And
did you listen to it on like 1.25 or 0.3?
I did try speeding it up. And then
that's about the sweet spot, like 1.2, 1.3, maybe even 1.5. Like,
I will try that because
that speed was too slow.
Well, yeah, it was like I couldn't find the hook anywhere, and so I went and got the ebook because everyone was saying it was great. All the reviews said it was great, so I was like, okay, I will do this. Got the ebook and found the hook with Inej quite a bit later, and then I was like, okay, I can do it. But by that point, it was like yesterday. So I've been listening through, and I will finish it because I am really enjoying it. But I didn't get to the very end. But don't worry, I don't care about spoilers. I will finish it. But yeah, so I did have a bit of trouble with that. And now that I've gone back to the audiobook, now that I'm hooked in, it's fine because I can sort of ignore the fact that some of the narrators are really slow. It reminds me of like Cecil from Night Vale with how slow he was and whatever, from his early days as Cecil. But yeah, and I did feel like it reminded me an awful lot of the E. Schwab's Darker Shade of Magic. Has anyone else read those?
I read the first one of that. And it was too dark for me.
Yeah,
that's fair. But yeah, I sort of felt like Inej especially reminded me an awful lot of Lyra. So, which probably was why I felt like I was finally able to hook in, because I liked Lyra a lot in A Darker Shade of Magic. So
having a hook matters. For me, I had similar sorts of problems. I'm also very aware of the fact that my head's not in the game right now, so I'm not sure that it's entirely the book's fault.
Fair enough.
That's absolutely fair enough.
Yeah, but I had problems with reading about criminals, and that was my biggest problem. I was just like, I'm basic criminals, especially at the very beginning before you get into like Matthias and that sort of thing, and you sort of obviously, oh God, I'm sick and tired of hearing about you guys stealing shit. And I get that there's good reasonings for it. It's just, I had to connect with the characters before I could get over it, and that was taking a while. So audiobook helped a lot with that, because it basically, I popped it on and I just sat and listened, and I got much more involved later on down the track. So yeah, that helped a lot. Gee, we missed you because you weren't here. Do you want her turn?
Hi, sorry, I just got home from work literally now. Hi guys. I did the audiobook as well. I was a little concerned. I messaged you guys when I downloaded it actually because I was a little concerned about the amount of narrators that were in there. And the top comment on the audiobook was, "Too many narrators. I'm so confused and annoyed." And I was like, okay. And it actually worked because of the amount of characters that were in it, I thought. So, yeah, that was good. I listened to it sped up as well. I listened to it at 1.4, and it was probably a little bit too fast, I think, at 1.4. But listening at normal speed was too slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. I listen to the whole thing in normal speed, no problems whatsoever.
I listen to everything at 1.25.
I do too. Every single thing.
I often do so now.
Yeah.
And if it's slow, then I bump it up even more.
Especially for the girl who does Nina, she just very carefully enunciates her words.
Is she
And
the
it makes me
lady
want
that
to
also
punch
did
her.
the Brandon Sanderson one? Yeah.
Yeah.
She was painful.
Yeah, she was just very painful with her because she just, obviously at some point someone's given her the criticism that you need to enunciate more when you're doing a audiobook.
But you can enunciate and speak quickly, love.
But yeah, she just enunciates and speaks very slowly to get every syllable out. I'm just like, no, I'm having none of you speeding this up.
It took me a while to get into it as well, but once I did get into it and became like a bit more invested in the characters, it was a bit better. I really like these kind of heist fantasy mix genre. But I felt like I was missing heaps of the story. Like there was a book 1 and I'd started at book 2.
I felt like that too.
And even though they kind of explain bits and pieces throughout, I still feel like there's a whole chunk in there missing. Particularly to do with Matthias and Inesh's, is it, yeah? Matthias?
No,
And that was me too. I got Nina and Inej mixed up a lot in the beginning. Like I got them straight by the end, but in the very beginning I kept getting them mixed up.
Yeah. So, I really was interested to hear more about that story. And I kind of wished that I was reading that one instead of the heist one. And the ending, I'm annoyed at the ending. I'm annoyed that I now have to go and read the second book.
Don't worry, because it's a pick. So you have to read it anyway. You just have to join us.
I know. I'm going to read it. It's just really annoying. I'm going to have to go and do that now.
I'm less annoyed with this ending, possibly because you all got annoyed for me, and so I knew it was coming. But then the one that we read, who's the author of Smoke and Bone? Daughter of Lyanna Taylor. The one we read, that with the angel thing over the city. That the end of that.
Yep.
Oh, I actually refused to read any more of the story because I was so pissed off about that ending.
Anymore. So I was like, you have made me so mad that I don't want to read any more of your book.
We have the second one. We have the audiobook. We just haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to.
If you want more of the story of Nina and Matthias, book 2 will serve that to you.
Oh yeah, why couldn't they do that in book 1 though? Like at the very beginning, instead of going and like jumping into the middle of a story, it felt like it was.
I really did feel like that.
More people from Nina's past that give her a reason to give more of her story.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's not many people because I don't want to spoil anything, but there are
one.
more people from her past that sort of give her more reason to sort of go into her background.
Yeah, especially that bit at the beginning when they were getting him out of the prison. I was like, I don't understand why he's pissed off with her, and I don't understand why, what, and
I don't think we're supposed to. I think that's
I get that now, but at the time I was just like, have I missed something?
Yeah, the whole like first, I don't know, quarter of the book, third maybe.
Especially because I know that this book is in the same universe as the other books that she's written that I haven't read yet. They're still like Grisha books. Those ones. And I was like, maybe these are spin-off characters and I've missed something from that was what my thought process was.
No, because these books and the Smoke and Bone and the Shadow and Bone, and Six of Crows run concurrently in the world.
There
okay.
are a couple of characters who overlap, but none of the major characters from Six
So
of Crows.
they're both happening at the same time. So you can read them in any order.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's
Now you're just making me want to read more books, damn you.
Sorry.
Look, I've already written one down tonight already. So
yeah.
But I have gotten up some questions for book club discussions if we would
Awesome.
Ooh, someone's
So,
prepared.
okay. How do the characters Kaz and the crew, like the 5 of his crew, differ from one another? What are some of their defining characteristics that you found? And consider what are their individual motivations for going into the heist? What makes them skillful in the heist? And what are their past histories and how do they interact with one another?
Oh, wow, that's a lot
Hang on a
of
second. You didn't write that, did you?
No. This is on litlovers.com
Right, okay. That makes more sense now.
for 6 of Crows. So
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's fine. I was just like, that's a very
really
teachery
detailed.
styling question that you've got going on
Jenny's
there.
going too bright. Hold on. Give me a second.
Even re-listening, I still feel like you couldn't have found someone else to do Jesper's job.
No. But yes, I have a whole bunch of words for us to look at.
He
So-
was such a liability. He nearly blew the entire thing for them and nearly got them all killed multiple times. You couldn't have found somebody else.
Agreed. He was probably my
There
least
was,
favourite
I
character.
feel like, especially with Jesper, there was no one else indebted to Kaz enough
That's
to go do it. Like, he
Yeah.
was so indebted to Kaz. Like, the others had their own reasons for wanting to go. Like, Inej wanted to be able to pay herself out so that she could go and live the life that she wanted to live. Nina wanted to get out of being in the White Rose. Everyone had their own reasons.
No, she was in the White
No,
House,
she
so
wanted to get
could
my
have
tires
tires
free.
Higher, yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, she wanted to have the money to get him out so they could both get out.
Yeah.
But Jesper was the only one of them that, yes, he wanted something for himself and he wanted to save his dad's farm, but he had to do it because he was indebted to Kaz. Like, there was no one
and he'd
else.
already lost the farm. The farm had gone.
Yeah, there was no one else in
Yeah.
the story that was that had to go. Like, Jesper, out of all of them, had no choice. Like, the
Yeah,
rest
but-
of them
Yeah, but
didn't.
Cass could have found someone
But
else with
I-
Jesper's skill set.
Yeah, I kind of with you. I kind of feel like that fact that Kaz is so kind of driven and focused, like he's like the classic kind of entrepreneur dickhead. Sorry. But so focused on the business and the outcome that he's willing to sacrifice the people he has, and he wants the best. And like, I kind of agree. I agree with Karina. I hadn't really reflected on before, but he is such a liability. Like the moment that blew up, really, that's the point you should have like let him go. I don't know. It's just everybody was like, I don't know.
I think he
I mean,
may
it's a
have also
nice twist
taken
in
him
the story.
because he knew that he had Grisha power as well.
Yeah, no, that's the reason that he brought him. He didn't bring him
Yeah.
to be a hired gun. He brought him because he's a Grisha. He,
I know, but there would have been other Grishas that he knew in town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seemed rare enough that it may have been too difficult for him to find someone that would be willing to go.
I agree with
Yeah.
Naomi on that. I'm not sure they
Like,
would have
Yeah.
found
I'm not
someone else.
saying
I think
that
you've
it
convinced
would have
me.
been
You've
impossible,
convinced me.
Yeah.
but if
No,
he
you've
needed,
convinced me.
like, he needed someone that he could make do what he wanted. Like, a lot of Grisha would not do. Like, they would have their own mind.
Yeah.
Like, Nina
I think
would.
the other thing too is that he'd already done the damage. It wasn't like he continued to betray him. He'd already done the damage before they left him when the blow up happened. So it wasn't going to change things to let him go at that stage.
Sorry.
I had
And really,
questions about-
Kaz was the one that screwed everything up quite a bit in the beginning.
Oh,
Yeah,
He had to go
yeah.
off on his own and then get Nina in trouble and then
And actually, Kaz was really annoying in the fact that, I don't know, because here's the question. We kept hearing how, was it Jasper's point of view that we kept hearing what we didn't know what was going on, whereas actually everyone did know what was going on, because you kept thinking, oh, Kaz isn't telling anybody. He's not saying anything. But was that just Jasper's point of view saying,
It's just Jasper.
It was just Jasper. So everybody, yeah, okay. So Kaz was letting others know. Yeah, okay, cool. Because I do
Or
remember
at
getting
least
really
letting
annoyed.
them know
Yeah.
Like Jasper.
Oh no, there
As
was one bit
very-
where I was really annoyed at him, and that was where he left Nina hanging.
Yes, exactly. And that's when he
was-
started, where everything just started to go downhill, is because Nina panicked, couldn't find him, ran into the guards, and then, everything just kicked off from there.
Well, no, I don't think Nina was. Nina didn't. Well, yeah, she was anxious, but she didn't panic. She just went, he hasn't shown up. I don't know where he is. I'm going to the basement, and it just happened to be bad timing.
Yeah, but because she wasn't with him, she was kind of hurrying, and she wasn't.
I think she wasn't quite thinking.
She wasn't quite thinking. Okay, I need to carefully peer through the door, maybe check with my magic that anyone's there. Like she was like, "Crap, I need to get there, and I need to get there now." And
I think I particularly found it annoying because he didn't actually kill the dude anyway. So basically, he gained a favor, which is now I can't remember if it was in that book or whether it was in the next sample of the next one. So I don't know if I can say anything.
It finished off with him in there, so we know he was alive, and Kaz wanted a favour. Yeah,
that plot point gave us the favour that allowed to happen at the end, but perhaps this wouldn't have been as much of a problem in the first place. I don't know. So.
It just raises stakes, right? It just raises the stakes. From an author point of view, you need to keep raising the stakes in the book. So that's what it did. So it made sense.
I know. I think that's my problem. I was enjoying the characters, but I am not a criminal or enjoyer or a heist story enjoyer. So for me, it was all about the characters that I enjoyed. And so for me, all of the stuff that was heist related.
I thought you said you loved a heist story, Mel.
I hate heist. I can't stand Ocean's 11.
I thought you said with Ocean's 8 you enjoyed Ocean's 8.
I enjoyed Ocean's 8 and it was surprising.
Right, I was super annoyed with Sandra Bullock's character at the beginning because exactly what you said. She was stealing from normal people and I just felt really bad for them. I'm like, you don't know why that person.
No, but Kate Blanchett was so goddamn hot in those suits. What could I do?
That's very true.
That's true. That's true. And she had that kick-ass fringe, and I know. And I love Sandy Bullock. Don't get me wrong. Anyway.
Do you want to get some bangs tomorrow?
It's a big risk.
It's too hot. It's too hot here for bangs. They're in New York in winter. You can have bangs in New York in winter. Here it's just like there's too much hair in my face.
That's how I feel at the moment, anyway.
Absolutely, my hair is up because I am so freaking hot right now.
Yeah, I hear it's like 36 degrees there or something stupid.
Yeah, it got to 40 in Adelaide today.
Oh,
It rained.
I'm in Brisbane and I by next week. Yeah, it's quite cool today. There's a beautiful cool breeze today.
It's Adelaide. We've had 3 heat waves in the last 2 months.
In the city of greatness.
Blah blah.
I'm like, I need to move to Queensland. It's cooler there.
Do it.
It rained today.
Oh God, it's 40. It was 37 yesterday, 37 the day before. It was 40 today, and it's 40 tomorrow.
I'm not quite hitting quite those levels. No, 38 yesterday.
You're like high 30s. Yeah.
So sucks. Anyway, moving on. Let's stop talking about
from the weather. Yeah. Sorry.
What can I say? We're Australians. We talk about the weather. Deal with it if you're watching from another.
Yeah.
It's
100 degrees, Americans.
Well over.
Anyway. Well over actually at 40.
Anyway, keep going. Who's got? What's the next thing? Oh,
okay. Does anyone have anything else to add on that point, sort of about the characters in general?
I liked.
Well, let's name them. Because there's 6 of them, right? So we've got Kaz, Nina and Inej, Jasper, Matthias, and Wylan.
Wylan was my favourite. Anyway,
I love Wylan.
I thought he
that was the question I have for you guys. Do we get more romance?
Bored. What was
I love you so much.
He's such a sweet, innocent little nerd.
No, what a tosser. He was useless. He was useless right then. But even then he wasn't useless.
He was just out
out of more situations than Jesper did.
You could have
Yes.
replaced him with anyone else. It would not have made a difference.
Well, no, they'd
except for
probably
at
all
the
be
very
dead.
end.
They'd probably all be dead if Wylan wasn't there to be insurance. Not that he was really insurance because his dad hated him, but still.
Yeah.
Oh well, he still didn't
They
crush
could've
the
just-
ship because they said Wyland was
they
on it. Because
could've
you said
just-
Wyland was on it.
Disguised someone else and pretended it was Wylan, you know, like.
But
what's
he
the
did all the
point?
bombs. He blew up all the things.
Yeah, I'm
He
sure
was-
anyone else
and
could have done that.
He was happy to be,
He was a
and because he's
sub-bubble.
so green, he was happy to be. He got turned into somebody else.
I feel
Yeah.
like he
He
was
was my
the
little
least
breath of fresh
fleshed
air.
out character
Yeah.
in the entire thing. He
Yeah.
was very face value. We didn't get to know him too
He
much.
gets better.
Exactly all the
does.
things
I was
I
going
like.
to say, I think
He
he's
gets
coming
better.
it into his own in the second book.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
say,
sure he will.
can you please tell me there's more romance with Wyland and
Yes.
Jesper?
Yes.
Good, because I was disappointed
That
by
I
the lack
like.
of it. I'm like, every time I was like, no, back.
That's some of this. Some of
Yeah,
this.
I want some of this.
Yes.
I want some of this. I want some of this. It's like, oh, it's YA, so I can't have what I really want. But you
You're
know.
never going to get the good stuff, but
So there was at least some of this, and then there was also some more this, and then some of this.
Ooh.
and none for Kaz.
And none for Gresham Wieners. I mean, Kaz.
Actually, that was, spoilers for book 2. Never mind, continue. See, I told you I had to re-listen to the first one just so I wouldn't talk about book 2.
Yeah, I'm only halfway through book 2.
I thought about starting it, and then I thought, no, there's enough of us that have read it, and we'll get confused. That someone needs to know where book 1 ends, right?
Yeah, not only that, I need to keep my credit for absolutely remarkable things in case I need it. So I was like, darn it, I want to get the second book, but I need this first one.
Absolutely Remarkable Thing isn't on Audible. It's only on Kobo. Just FYI.
No, it is on Audible.
No, it's
I
on
listened to it on
Audible.
Audible.
I tried to get it on Audible and I couldn't find it. I had to go over and get it on Kobo.
It's
No,
definitely
Literally
Audible.
there, I've looked at it.
Definitely on Audible.
No.
I listened to it
Definitely
already.
on Audible. And actually quite nicely narrated too.
Yeah, she's really good.
Good.
She's really good.
So short.
Nope.
I literally trialed it. I've listened to the sample.
Yeah, I looked the other day.
I've already listened to it. I listened to it last year.
Yep. When it came out.
I don't know what's wrong with our account then, but neither of us are able to find it. I had to go over to Kobo and get it. I thought it was really weird.
Yeah,
But sorry.
It's so weird. But at
Not
least it's not like one of those only available on Audible crap things where
No,
they-
and Hank says he doesn't want to do that.
yeah.
He's actually hands down said he doesn't want to do, even though he knows he'll get a better percentage, he doesn't want to do that. So,
To return to Wylan,
yes, let's get back to wireless.
he does fulfill an important trope though from like heist genre, and that is the green newbie
Yeah.
who comes along and is taken under the wing.
Jesper could have been that guy.
and-
Sorry, keep going.
I think he's also like the morality of, like the rest of them are actually criminals and doing bad things, and he's like the one that's like, hang on a second,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Both,
I like
he's
the
both Matt
innocence in
Damon and
Yeah.
what's his name's character? Who's the bomb expert in Ocean's
Matt
11?
Damon.
No, the bomb expert who's got the
Isn't
really
that
bad.
Rhiannon?
No, in Ocean's
she was
11.
half
Oh,
sister.
the bomb guy was
What's his
wasn't
name?
he the British bomb?
Cheadle, Don Cheadle. So he's Don Cheadle mixed with Matt Damon. So he's the bomb expert mixed with the green of Matt Damon. So there you go.
The thing with with Wylan is
Another
that
thing I had a problem with. Am I breaking up?
Yes.
Yep.
I know this is going off the... Oh, Jesus. Am I still breaking up?
no, you're good.
No, you're good.
Okay, good, thank God. I know it's going off the characters, but my other thing was I was just looking for a little bit of hope in this world. Everything felt so goddamn hopeless. And I was just like, Wylan was my little ray of hope. So that's why he was sort of important to me, because I was like, oh God, not everything's terrible
That goes
here.
away.
Yeah.
That goes away. Maybe don't read book 2.
Audible thing on Audible.
Yeah, I found it. It is on Audible.
Yeah.
No, like it's not on either of our accounts. Like
I
both of
heard-
us are signed in
Wow.
separately.
So weird.
Absolutely remarkable.
Go to the website instead of going through the app.
And
And
see
you
that.
have to click on store, not library. I did that
Yeah.
mistake for a while. I'm like, it is not showing up, but I have my library selected.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Naomi, about the book? About what are we reading?
Wyland?
Sex of Crows? Yeah, Wyland.
I was just going to say with Wyland, he's also a good balance where Jasper is in because he has to be in. He's fucked, like hella fucked.
Yeah.
But Wyland is in because he wants to be in. He wants to go on this epic adventure, and he wants to show it to his dad and, try and be this cool criminal person, and it's just not him, but that's what he wants. He wants to try and do something, like to show that he can be something more than just the failure son of his dad.
Wyland
also wants to belong.
That's what I was about to say.
Like
he wants to be accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's had this dad that's basically gone, well, you're useless and rejected.
Yeah, he's never.
I'm going to replace you with a younger heir because you're, used to me. He's never really fit in anywhere.
And now he's finally useful.
And he wants to fit in. Well, he wants to feel like he fits in, and he's willing to kind of do what he needs to do to be able to fit in, even though he kind of feels like he still doesn't.
The other thing is, I think he just wants to feel like he's useful, even if his use is the fact that he's Wyland.
Yeah.
He needs to learn, so he's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
but it sounds like he's just he is actually smart. He's just
he is.
Just
very
great.
smart.
Like the person who matters most to him, his dad doesn't believe in him, so he feels useless, and then he needs to prove himself.
He's just green. He just in the same way that I don't believe that the other 5 have had enough world experience to be acting the way they are at 17. I do feel like he is a little bit more age appropriate and also green appropriate, as it were. Like, what is he, 15 in the book? Like, he's definitely younger, right, than the others. Yep.
Oh man, I forgot that he was that young.
Yeah, but that's feels a little bit like he feels more appropriate to. But it feels like
even him, I think, of some of the stuff that happened, like I'm thinking about some flashbacks of what happened to him that are in the second book. I'm like, man, he was only 15. I keep forgetting how old he was. Like,
I'm gonna block the age of these people.
I think I aged up all the characters by at least 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like with Kaz is supposed to have like a gravelly voice.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, he does not seem like he's 19. I like, he was like at least 40 in my head.
Yeah.
Well, he's walking with a cane, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. I agree. Like, even Wyland, this is the thing. I feel like, they're all in their late 20s, early 30s. Kaz is maybe older. And Wyland's just graduated university after studying, chemistry, which his dad didn't want. Like, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a bomb fucking expert. You don't get to know all about that at age. Like, he feels like he's 22, not 15.
Yeah.
I just ignored the ages. I was like, they're going to be whatever age I choose.
It makes me think
that's what I ended up
maybe
having to do. I had to keep ignoring the fact that they was like, I'm like, you're not 17, you're 27, 33.
Maybe the author just kind of had this idea of this story in her head, and then it's like, but if we market it to YA, it'll sell better. So we'll just say that everyone's young because YA, people who read like YA like to have young characters because they can relate to them. And but it doesn't feel like the story was written for that age group. But
see, I think the only character who was really closest to her age in attitude was probably Inej. Because at least she was trained from a young age to be an acrobat, and that's what her skills excelled at. So it made sense that she was as good as she was.
It was also for her because she was actually abducted out of her life. She hadn't made choices to be where she was. And so I think that the age for her worked okay because you were like, oh, fuck what you've been through, honey.
Yeah, definitely.
But even
he was my favourite.
Sorry, Inej?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really annoyed by the ending. I was like, what? No way.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to have to read the second one now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
We've
annoyed
only
by
got two
it.
female characters, and she had to be abducted so that she
That's
could
kind
forward.
of what
Yeah.
I was a bit annoyed about. It was like, oh, great. So you've taken the person who's keeps rescuing everybody else. Maybe this is part of it. And you've turned her into the victim.
Yeah.
So that she
When
can be
she's supposed to
rescued
be
by the
so
men.
kick-ass as well.
Because because the one guy who's actually a full-on douche is likes her, and it's like, great.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh, really? Like, yeah. So I was a little frustrated with the ending, but for multiple levels, multiple reasons.
Although I
I
did love the whole Wylan was the had been converted to look like the dude thing. I thought that was a little stroke of genius
I
there.
love that he's stuck like that too.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things I liked about Inish's character was it's just that funny little thing on the way home where everyone's sort of moping around the boat and she's just following all the sailors, asking them things and learning things, and everyone else is moping about or hiding.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I suddenly saw her as Lady Corsair in the LDUH series as a Lady Corsair. You know, the captain of one of the boats. Yeah, I like that.
I know the book, but I never read it. But I know the book you're talking of.
Yeah, she features in one of them, and then she has her own stream of books, which is really good.
I was totally expecting the second book to be about her pirate crew, basically.
Oh, in this one,
Yeah,
Imagine her pirate crew.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
When I
Yeah,
saw
see,
the
I
first
read that.
and then the end hit, and I was like, oh.
I want that too.
That's
So bad.
that sounds like a good thing. Like, she's set sail. And, yeah. I know what you meant, by the way, a few of you mentioned about it feeling like there was a bit of the book missing. For me, I felt like the whole war and what had happened, like that feels like a whole area that I was like, I don't understand who's at war and who's not at war, and I don't know what's caused the war. Is this like the First World War where no war really, there's treaties and shit? Like, I still don't know.
I think it was isn't it like the war between the Grisha and the other
The
country?
Drishkel or whatever the hell.
Yeah, but
I think that's more like a neighbouring country war sort of thing.
Yeah, but then I was also trying to work out where everybody was from. And I kept having to look at the map. Someone made the point about those
I never even looked at the map again.
I didn't even know there was a map. Damn it.
I did see it at the beginning and then just totally forgot about it.
It's the problem with audiobooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting thing that you bring up about the places, because I kind of felt like they were kind of allegories for actual countries, and I was trying to go, okay, well, this one is kind of that country, and this one is sort of that country, but not exactly. Like the one that what's his face?
Matthias?
No, the guy that's
He was Swedish, if you couldn't tell.
There's one that seems kind of Irish to me. There's one place that I think it's where Jesper's from, but also the guy that's the bad guy that Kaz hates. What's his name?
Oh,
Brecker.
I want to know more about him too. Is there more of him in the second book?
Yes.
Yes.
What's his name?
Is he the guy that
Becca Rollins? Yeah,
is
I
he the
kind of
guy
thought
that duped Kaz and
when
his
he was
brother?
young.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of and I got more like some of the audiobook narrators kind of do an Irish accent and some of them kind of don't, and I'm like, are you trying to say this is kind of like Ireland? And there was another kind of comment about it too, about something, I don't know, but I kind of felt like did this author just kind of pick places and then kind of change their names and then sort of change a few things about them, and then, you know what I mean? I don't know whether anyone else felt that way, but I did kind of feel like there were.
Yeah, I did feel like that a little bit.
The town they were in, can someone remember my memory what the town was called?
Ketterdam? Was that it?
Ketterdam.
Yeah, it was Amsterdam. Sure and through.
Yeah.
Like, even when she was describing one of the places, I'm like, oh, I know where that is.
With all the canals and stuff. That's what I mean.
When she was talking about the buildings and they came in and where the buildings were and there was the guild, I was like, oh, I know exactly where that is. Like, it was so
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
there's
a few things that I was like, oh, you're talking about this place. And like the the people that Inez's people kind of seem like gypsies. I know that's not actually a politically correct term, but I don't really know what the actual term is. So
Romani.
Romani.
So I kind of got that feel from those people, and it's like it's not exactly they've tweaked it enough to kind of, but I kind of can see she's kind of maybe been inspired by particular cultures in real life.
I mentioned her being more Spanish or Moroccan because they said they described her as being. I think you're right about being Romani. I hadn't thought about that, but I kept imagining her as being more Moroccan. Or,
I think it was the fact that they were like a traveling
traveling circus kind of thing.
Traveling in caravans. Yeah.
But then maybe she did pick two, and do a blend of places too.
Yeah.
Like
She probably did just so that she wasn't too like trying to caricature a particular race of people or a particular type of people. If she sort of, because I think with the Irish people, she was like taking some parts of them, but also some Welsh and some English, like trying to sort of blend them together so it wasn't too much of a, here he gets really drunk, so he must be Irish and he likes to farm. Yeah, get those potatoes.
But there were a few things that I kind of went, is that where you're kind of going with this? And but it was enough change that I couldn't even work it out exactly. But I was like, So it'd be interesting to see if there are any other reviews where people have said the same thing, or whether it's just my brain going crazy.
The second question in my little book club thing is, to what extent do any of the characters grow or change by the end of the book? Do any or all reach new levels of maturity, gain insights, or find peace and redemption from their pasts?
I feel like that's the question they ask in every certificate English exam.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of them don't really, they don't sort of get redemption for their past really until the end of book 2. So it's really difficult to answer knowing that what they do get at the end of book 2, being able to answer that for what they get at the end of book 1.
I would say, though, that I can see progress for all of them except Kaz, who just can't seem to stop.
Kaz has had obviously some sort of mental break, and obviously living on the streets has not helped heal that mental break. It's only just made it worse. So he just pushes through the mental insanity that he has. And I mean this in a great way. She has really shown how a character, like he and Inej both had like a really terrible mental sort of trauma that would break most people. Like yes, they were different, but they were very impactful things that have happened in their life. And the way that both of them have dealt with that, like Inej, while she does still want to get vengeance for what's happened to her, she is a lot less, like she's not driven by vengeance. Whereas Kaz is purely driven by the vengeance he wants to get for everyone that has ever wronged him, even if it's only in his perceived mind.
Absolutely.
What's that noise? Is that someone's hard drive starting up?
It's probably my computer because it's really terrible. And it sounds like an airplane taking off when the fan starts going.
I thought it was a cat meowing, but then it
So
went
did I.
on and on and on.
It's weird that you can hear it so loud because I can barely hear it. So I just had a look at the there's a wiki called Is that me making that noise?
No, it might have been Sarah. She's look at him, look at a moose.
Hello,
Sorry,
Moose.
I had clicked off the screen because I was looking at there's a wiki called Grishaverse.
Yeah.
And if you go into nations, it tells you, it actually says it's inspired by this country and that country. So Fjerda is inspired by Scandinavia. Ravka, which is where the Grisha are from, is inspired by Russia.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Because
Nina, right? Nina. The
Shu is Mongolian / Chinese. Kirch is
Zora.
Yeah. It says Kirch was inspired by the Dutch Republic of the 18th century, with some influence from New York, New Amsterdam, Las Vegas, and Victorian London. So it's obviously a much more of a mishmash. I did get the Victorian London feel from it though, because it reminded me a bit of reading The Great Train Robbery many years ago.
I actually got a lot of Amsterdam, like I got those Amsterdam feels from it, but
yeah,
I have family from Holland, so I've done a lot more like looking and reading and sort of thinking about Amsterdam than I have of like 18th century London.
And The Wandering Isle is based on Ireland, so I wasn't going completely crazy there.
No, not at all.
And it says Novi Zem. Oh, the Zemini. Is that where Inej is from?
That's, Nej. I think.
It says, inspired by the American colonies and Australia with other influences. And I'm like, okay. It says, based off a real place called Novaya Zemlya, a Russian archipelago somewhere in the North Sea above Eurasia. There you go. I did not get the American colonies thing from that, but...
No, neither did I. I mean, unless they mean just because they're all in wagons. But I didn't get like a vibe of...
Maybe.
I definitely got more of a vibe of like Romani sort of like...
Yeah. I don't know how, I mean...
Together making a life performing kind of thing, whereas American colonies were more traveling for the sake of getting to a place.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it is a wiki. I don't know where they're getting all the information from. It says a Tumblr is where the only reference is the Lee Bardugo. Bardugo, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Tumblr. So I don't know. But
yeah,
interesting.
Interesting, definitely.
I found a really cool picture of the characters.
Oh yeah, I went and looked for fan art to see where is it?
I'll just post it there. It's kind of cool. I imagine Wyland with that sort of, schoolboy look and the red tuffled hair.
Yes. Oh yeah, I saw that.
Wyland, so cute.
What on earth did you do?
I don't know.
I try again. Undo it.
Break something.
I did break something.
She clicked it and like all source code came up.
You probably hit like F11 or 12 or something.
She didn't touch the keyboard.
I was just using
Kaz is way too hot and like refined looking in that picture, I think.
Yeah.
I envisage him more scruffy and like, like
the
barrel. The barrel.
Yeah.
He had the plague.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he should look more sickly.
Yeah. He looks way too suave there.
And also, Jesper looks like... That does not look anything like I would have pictured Jesper.
No, I don't think I would have pictured Jesper like that.
I kind of like him like that, though. That's kind of cool.
It's kind of
And Matthias,
really like...
no, that's not how I pictured Matthias at all. I kind of pictured him like a bear.
Because he's maybe blonde and blonde. He's like
I was going to say very
guy.
Norwegian sort of Swedish look.
Scruffy, hairy and big and...
When they described him, I pictured like a Swedish hockey player.
You know what I pictured?
You're just obsessed with hockey, aren't you?
Do you remember the ads for the masseuse shoes and they had that masseuse guy on it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Except like with longer hair. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, he was like, and my name is Sven. And he was like the massage guy. And they were like, that's who I pictured.
Okay, I'm stopping myself from going down a memory path of old commercials now.
Okay. Are we all happy? Can we move on? Or does anyone have any further points?
On what?
Are we going to read books as a group read, or are we just?
Yeah, it's a elder pick.
It's Naomi's pick for April.
Oh yeah, cool.
Okay.
We're doing 2 duologies this year. We've got 2 duologies. I'm like, how did that happen? That's weird.
I
just keeps on giving.
What did you guys think of the ice court? Well, there's 2 questions. What did you guys think of the ice court? Like the whole kind of way it was described, like with the prison and that kind of stuff. So that's my first question. If you guys have any thoughts around that, like how the break-in and everything.
I like the breakout.
I know they got a tank.
Yeah, the tank was awesome. I was like, yeah, man.
And then my second question was, what do you think about the drug? What I don't remember what's called.
Mm.
RM.
RM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I found that incredibly. To what Mel said, like that the whole way, it just felt very hopeless, like with that in the world, and it being forced into like.
And I thought for sure Nina was going to die, man. I thought that was it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know whether it's a case of because no one's been able to get through it, like, you know, like most, like an addict trying, like, they haven't been able to get through it, and they've done stupid things to try and get more of it, as opposed to going, I am going to get through this, and I just need people to help me and to help me not leave. You know, like I always think of training, or, you know, or a couple other things. I think it's like, don't let me leave this room. I just have to get through the worst of it, kind of thing. And I just wonder if that's what we're going to see. I know other people have read ahead, but yeah. So those were my kind of two questions. What do people think of the ice court, which I thought was kind of the way some things were described was really interesting. And then what did you think of the drug? That like the whole thing that they were there to do, which was to get the guy.
I thought the ice court made like a good setting to kind of have a heist, because it's not like a really typical sort of thing.
I liked about that they were trying to get something out, like it wasn't just about getting in, it was about getting out, which I thought was very cool. Like, we've got to get, and it's a person we've got to get out. That was really interesting and different.
I liked that they used the whole tradition of this is how we initiate the guys, and we tell them all that the gods will bless you and you'll survive, when actually the leaders tell them where this secret tunnel is, and that's what they used to get out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
Cool.
I thought it
Even
was.
we know our God isn't real.
I thought it was utterly a really fascinating world building point to take the idea of them hating the Grisha and then finding out that the Grisha basically built this court for them.
Yeah, like I would be really interested to know, did the Grisha build their city before they decided they hated them? Like, did they have did they have a history of working together until something happened, and that's why they have this sort of like people? I mean, is that why they have this really castle made with Grisha power? Like, but they have all these like sort of have all these dungeons basically that are designed specific to keeping Grisha.
Yeah.
Do they like? Why would any Grisha have done that?
I personally think that they're continuing to enslave them, and it's just not as visible.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. I think they were slaves that built it.
Yeah.
Would you build something that's only going to kill your own people?
But if that's the thing about slavery, is that you the people who are in that.
Mel froze. Missed that now.
The people who are in slavery situations, they don't feel like they've got any choice. They don't realise their power that they have. And in from a historical point, it's easy enough to look back and say, oh, but you had the numbers. Surely you could have overpowered them and stuff. It's a systemic oppression. You don't feel like you've got power.
Yeah.
And the Drusilla had the armor infused stuff as well that stopped the Grisha power, so they had no power.
But that was all still made by Grisha. Like, everything that
I
they
didn't
have
understand.
to
Why would
themselves.
Grisha make that armor like that works against them? I didn't understand that.
Yeah, like it seemed weird that like, how did they get to a point where they had captured enough Grisha that they could create all of this stuff? Like,
I
without
reckon
the Grisha catching on. Like,
I reckon it would have been one of those things that started slowly, and they were like, "Oh, you know, we're just going after the criminal Grisha, and so you're gonna help us out. We're gonna, you know, we're just going after the bad elements, and you know, and then it becomes more and more. You know, usually these kinds of things don't happen suddenly. They have this kind of this wearing away of, you know."
Well, even the fact that they didn't see them as human, right? That's a wearing away of viewing these people as humans. So to them, it justifies whatever they choose to do with them. So
And it's not like we have to look far to see kind of examples of this sort of thing happening.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's true.
It's not like it's all just, in one big hit. Like, it's a slow build-up.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And it's very easy to force someone to do something if you know what they care about. So it could just be a matter of, you build this for us or we'll kill your daughter or son or something like that, and they just do it. There's also that part about people not actually knowing what they're doing in the grand scheme of things. Where you can say, you make a pane of glass and you make this and someone else makes that, and they don't know what each other are making, and then it comes into being something.
I actually thought the author did a really good job on the world building about helping us through meeting Nina and Nej and Jesper, as we discovered, about how there is this like slavery in the world that isn't called slavery, it's something else, and that if you are out and about and being, the law is not going to be on your side, because if you get caught being a Grisha, you will get enslaved by someone, and someone discovers something, they'll sell you, they'll figure out how to make the most of you. So I think I think it was very obvious that it's just such a dangerous predicament that I'm not going to do it, but what else? You can't run away, because what happens? Where are you going to run away to? Who's going to shelter you? Who's going to take you in? I thought she'd done a really good job of showing that the stakes are outside of the Third Army or whatever it's called, like wherever Nina's people are from. There's just it's incredible. It's just unsafe. Even if you think you've got power, you may not have the power to get through it.
And we saw that with the Nej as well, the way she was taken from her family and indentured into the menagerie and branded, and all of that kind of slavery as well.
Yeah.
So which is sex slavery, sex trade.
Yeah.
That's my other thing that I brought up earlier, that I found that whole bit a little bit much for a YA novel, because there's so much in that.
And
I don't know
how young Inesh was as well.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
She must have been 13, 14, and I was really disturbed by that. And that she didn't really go, I'm like, definitely trauma. You've been taken away from your family, you've been forced into this, to become a sex worker, not by your choice. And that it's just, I found that those themes, and I know there are the themes of slavery and being seen as other and not being less of human, is reflection, and maybe she'll go into it more in the second book. But I thought it was very, there's some good themes to reflect on our own lives, but that was a really heavy theme that I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if it was age appropriate. Maybe it is. I don't know. But or certainly it didn't feel like it kind of it glossed a little bit over how heavy that is.
I think
but I think in a way it didn't gloss it over too much, because when Inej was faced with whatever her name was,
Madam,
she didn't she wasn't the hero who saved herself. She froze up, she panicked, and I think that gave it a little bit of realism, that you don't always, just because you get away from something, you don't you can't fight it when you're faced with it again. You do panic, you do things. So I think she at least treated it a bit realistically. But I don't know what age this was really aimed at, to how young this was aimed at, because it could be quite heavy.
Because for instance, she's with Kaz, who's got his own trauma, and he doesn't want to touch her, and she's saying, you need to touch me and stuff, and I'm going, you've been a sex worker against your will for years, you've been touched by hundreds of men. I'm not sure you'd want to be touched either. I don't know, but that's there's a lot of other stuff, other trauma, other than just the matter.
They kind of go into that a little bit in the second book. But what were you going to say about the author, Mel? Because I'm curious as to whether she actually wanted this to be YA, and if it was a publisher's decision.
Let's make everyone think of tea.
Because it's quite frequent. I've actually read some things, and I've actually, one of the authors that was speaking at the teacher librarian conference I went to last year said the exact same thing. He said, I actually wrote this for adults, and it was the publishers that decided to release it as YA.
Yeah. A lot of female authors tend to get pushed into the YA market because they're female, especially when they write in fantasy and sci-fi.
Yeah, and it's like, does the publisher go, age down your characters, we're releasing this as a YA because this is how you're going to sell books.
That would make a lot of sense in this book to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that people underestimate the amount of darkness and heavy topics that young adults can handle.
I agree. And I think
I
also,
do agree.
I think the problem is that YA is such a broad category. Like, does YA mean 13-year-olds or 17-year-olds? And then I think that's what I read when I was 13 and go, yeah, actually.
What I read when I was 13, I really think I should have read when I was 13.
Yeah. I think my thing with it is that, yes, it's there. It's a heavy thing. It's not. There's a gravitas to it that I felt was missing. And maybe it'll come into the second one, but I'm like, for something of that trauma, there's a gravitas that's missing. And maybe it's because it's a YA novel and I don't want to get into it too much, but I'm like, you aren't avoiding it with the slavery tones, but it's not here. So that was one of my issues around it, was I'm like, that is, because that is something like the slavery type thing, like treating people as other, like treating people as that they do not have the same rights as you. With the, like we do, there is this kind of stuff, children being sold, or all kinds of nasty stuff happening. It does happen, and it's heavy. So anyway, enough of the heavy stuff.
Well, just finishing off on that point from my perspective, I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't like the ending so much as well. I felt like Inej had so little agency throughout this story, and she was just sort of discovering it for herself, and to have that just ripped away, I think that's what made that ending really harsh. And I realized that might all be fixed in the next book and everything, and that's fine. Just like, that's what I was just so peeved at it though.
You're right. It was kind of on an uphill for her, and then all of a sudden she was stereotyped as the maiden
girl
who
that
needs
rescuing,
rescuing,
Princess in the Tower.
you just destroyed everything that you built this character up into. Hopefully that there's something in the second book that squashes that.
The thing that needs, like, that was the thing, like the arc of the characters, that's the two ones that I'm like, Inej's arc was going so beautifully, and then that happens where it's like, it kind of gets her knees cut out from underneath her, and then Kaz has to go off and solve another problem, as opposed to somebody solving problems to help him. Like, he doesn't trust anybody to solve his problems. That's the arc that he needs to experience, right? He needs to experience that other people may have answers, and I need to empower others. Like let them master their craft, and know that they are the expert and not like in that area, and not me, and I don't have to have all of it,
I got Kaz a bit more than the rest of you, I think. He was alone all of his life and had to fend for himself.
And absolutely, and that's the bit that he and once again, but he's not there. He's now fending, and nobody's
he's probably the most damaged person out of everyone in that group, I think, as well.
Easily.
And that's why he's such an asshole.
I didn't quite believe / get the whole con on his brother though. Because I know, and that was the whole thing when he finally said it wasn't just, we weren't the only cons. Because I'm like, you can't have been. You wouldn't have set all of that up.
I think he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like,
that's what I wondered.
He was just like, he was the little bit where they're just like, oh, hey, we can get more money. He will just take his life savings as well. He's not the one we're going for, but we'll just do him as well.
Yeah.
You need to stop bringing things up that I want to answer the questions to, ladies. It's really difficult to not tell you what's going on.
We do that next month, all right?
2 months.
And I get that. Like, I totally get it. Like, they went into it and said, like, can't have been it. Like, because that was the whole time I'm thinking, okay, this is an ending of where, like, you can't just go after a 12-year-old kid or a 14, like, it's not a great.
Well, his brother was going to be 19, I think, or 18 or something. Like, his brother was an adult, or at least adult enough. Adult enough to be in Ketterdam. Like, it seems like Ketterdam adult is very much like Europe, where at 16 you're sort of old enough to go out and drink in at the clubs and that sort of thing. Like, you're adult enough. You're not an adult, but you're given a lot more freedoms than you are in, like, here in Australia or over in America. Like, you are.
It's basically, a couple of hundred years ago when 16 was our new 20 or something like that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if we look at our own history back in even 1900s, 16 was considered like an adult. You were making adult decisions. Like, yes, I understand that we all have because we're a lot older than that, but they're an adult in their social
And I'm just
their world.
reflecting on what the guy said. He really didn't want to take the kid's money. I'm just reflecting now on the story. He really didn't want. Remember, he kept pushing.
No, they really did try and not do it, but then he
Not do it. But he was like,
weird.
"Why? What's wrong with my money? Whatever." And he, So, and then I don't know if that was just part of the con.
I think that was part of the con. I think that was part of the con.
Yeah. I don't know. I think those morals, like, and that's kind of with Mel, where I just go, you know, like, when people aren't morally right, then you kind of, like, in a weird way, you can kind of live with the dubiousness of someone stealing from them. But when it's just like, I don't know, it's just like, okay, you're obviously an asshole, but like, you're not just you're an asshole to kids, and like, how, I don't know.
Which I think is kind of the point in some respects with what we're
absolutely, but it gets all kind of Dursley like at that point, right?
Yeah.
You kind of, you know, when you start to analyze the text of Harry Potter, you kind of go, like, how much could you really have been that way with a baby or a 1-year-old? Like, how could, you know, so there's things like that I always think about and go, it's the whole, you know, it's obvious George R. Martin, the way he gets, like, the whole, like, Stark, right? I don't know, you know, with, what's his name?
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow, yeah, and she rejects him the whole time, and he was like a baby. I'm like, I just don't see that. The relationship you've painted isn't really what would have happened, you know. But anyway, sorry. And
the Jordan Parem. There was something I wanted to say about that.
Oh yeah, good. Okay. Cool.
I loved hearing the point of view from Nina when she took it after like the whole heist to go and get it and what the effects were, and seeing it from outside, finally seeing it on the inside of someone taking it, and the way it was described. I think it probably could have been a bit better, but yeah, just the clarity and how she heard everything, and everything became clear, and yeah, I felt like that was really needed. I was so glad they did that.
Yeah, and actually there was a beautiful part which reminds me of something where Inej says to her, "You're magnificent. You look, you're like."
She said it to Inej, didn't she? She said, "Your skin's glowing."
And no, but then Nina turned around and said, "I'm terrified," because she's like, I might look like this, but I don't know what happens when it's gone. Yeah. And I remember that bit. And that kind of reminds me of one of the things I really did love about this book is I love Nina and Inej's relationship. And it was so refreshing to read a really good female friendship that wasn't necessarily like best friends forever, but a respect for one another, and
they had
two women who may not have much in common supporting each other. Really.
I fucking loved that, and I just anytime the two of them were together, I loved those scenes.
They had that bond from the menagerie.
Yeah,
I loved that scene on the boat where Inej was telling her what she was planning to do, and she went, "Let's buy the menagerie." And she went, "Yes, let's buy it and burn it to the ground." I was like, "Yes, do that."
Yeah. Yeah,
and the humor between them was lovely too. Like,
absolutely,
all the stuff about the singing was pretty hilarious.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I thought that was so good and so spot on. I loved that relationship, and yeah.
I just thought for a second, it's kind of like two drunk girls who don't know each other in a bathroom and want to bring distance. It's like, I've got you, girl. Yeah, I've got you, girl. Thanks.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like the sisterhood know how to look. We've had to look out for one another for millennia because, you know, toxic masculinity, and I thought that was translated really well. And you know, I think, you know, sometimes only a female author can write that.
I especially found listening to the audiobook, hearing the love in the voice of the characters when Inej was speaking to Nina, like the love that they put into their voice when they were speaking to Nina, like you could tell that they really cared about one another. Like these two characters, the voice actors really did put in that much feeling when they were doing those voices that, you know, you could really feel that those two characters really did care and love one another. Like they cared about each other and they really wanted to make sure that each other were cared about.
That was something I wondered about the narration, actually, and the amount of narrators, whether I was falling more for the sound of the voice rather than the character itself, like whether the vocalization of the character made me like that character more or not. I wasn't sure because, I liked Inej a lot, but I liked Inej's character and the voice that was Inej's voice.
No, I think Inej is just likable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like,
and she's a sympathetic character too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like she wanted to use her money to buy a boat and hunt slavers.
Yeah.
Like, she's just a very likable character.
He would be such a kick-ass pirate, man. I would read that book.
That story, I want that story. How do I get it? What animal do I need to slaughter to what god to get that story?
That will be her next duology.
Don't promise me things I can't have, Kim.
Oh dear.
Anyway, I had better head off. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
See you next time.
So the next question that's on the list is more, I don't know that it really, do you have any favorites within the dregs? And honestly, you don't really get to know any of them. Like, I can't remember any of the dregs other than the ones that are in the main story.
Yeah.
I think that's what they mean, don't they? It's the main story people.
Yeah, well, they are the dregs, aren't they?
Yeah, they are the
What would
dregs.
be Inej? Yeah.
Did anyone in that first scene go, jets, 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 from West Side Story when they were going to do the whole, you know, we're going to have this thing up in the thing. That's all I could keep thinking. Jets.
I didn't, but now I'm picturing it.
Yes.
And I know that we've kind of answered this, but I know a lot of people were saying that they were having difficulty getting their footing because they felt like they were missing something. And from the way this question is worded, it seems like that if you've read the other trilogy first, you get a bit more world building. So maybe that would have helped with some
I know
of
that the
footing.
first trilogy focuses a lot more on the corporality.
Yeah, so you don't get to much. No, it doesn't mention much of the corporality in this one.
Yeah. So, like, the question is, Six of Crows is set in the same world as Bardugo's Grisha trilogy. If you've read any of these books in that trilogy, how does this one compare? If you haven't, was it hard to find your footing? And a lot of people have said that, yeah, they did find it hard to find their footing. So maybe reading that other series, like, we haven't read it. We read Six of Crows first, so I have no idea if that's the case.
I just heard that the Six of Crows duology was better, so I read that first.
I think it was a good choice for us. Yeah, I think it was a good choice for us because of it's a duology factor. I think that makes it a lot easier for us to consume it, which is always nice when we enjoy something to actually be able to go through and consume the whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've read enough books now that sort of leave you hanging in the beginning and you're like, oh, it's one of these where I'm going to find out later why this all makes sense or why this is that way, that I just sort of, yeah, whatever. I'm like, it's not going to make sense till later in the book. I know this is going to be one of those books where you don't know why this is happening or what's going on, but you find out later why it's going on.
Why it's important.
So I sort of just went, it's going to be that. That's what's going to happen in this book. So I just sort of went along with it.
I think, funnily enough, I was bothered less by it in this book because it was a hype.
Mel frozen again.
Know what's coming and like they're going to do. There's always the twist at the end, or all of those sorts of things. So I was just like, I'm not going to know anything until the end. Just
that's a good point, because that is, and there's always like something in these heist books. Like I'm thinking of Lachlan Mora books as well, like where you're like you think you know what's happening, and then something else changes.
And then something happens, and you're like, oh my god, I
that
need
was going to
nothing.
happen. I was like, no way in hell.
Legit Jon Snow. They're nothing.
And she was really not giving anything away. She didn't give you details on the first version of the heist. And then when everything went crazy, she didn't give you details on the second version of the heist. So it was just like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm echoing now, so I'm going to guess that's me.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Possibly.
So the next question is just, did you enjoy the book structure, like as in that it was like the story was told from different points of view? And I mean, a lot of us have already said that we did really enjoy that. Like, did enjoy hearing.
Something would have been missing if it was only from one point of view, or
because I feel like if it was only from one point of view, it would have been from Kaz's point of view, and I feel like it would have missed a lot. If it was,
I would have probably stopped reading it if it had all been from Kaz's point of view.
I probably wouldn't have recommended book 2 because I wouldn't have finished book 1 if it was just from this point of view. Because while Kaz is an interesting character to read, he is made more interesting by the people around him.
Yeah.
And seeing,
But not just that. I wanted to know what was going on with Nina and Myers.
this.
Why? How? Why? I
I
need
think
more.
This, then
I think
this.
being in their heads helped to make up for the fact that there was so little that you knew as well. So
Yeah.
at least you got to be in their brains a bit.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Coming over this?
I would have liked to be in Wyland's brain.
Did we not get to be in Wyland's brain? I've forgotten.
I
No.
I don't think so, but if we
No.
did, it was only once at the very early beginning, and I don't think we did.
No.
You get to see him as a mate. You do in the second book, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But not much in
couple
the
of
first book.
characters from his point of
Didn't we
view.
get to be in his brain? Because
Only once or twice. Not very
Not like
often.
everybody
There
else.
was
no,
three
because there
chapters.
was the bit where he didn't know Jasper was a Grisha, and then
Yeah.
Eva
And they weren't character building for him. They were
No.
storytelling for
They
him.
were
But I
That's
think
the
that,
point
I
that we
think it was
missed, right?
for a very good point, though, because if you knew too much of in his brain, you would have known too many other things that mattered at the end.
like the fact that it was him standing next to Jasper the entire time on the boat.
Yeah.
And the fact that his father really did not love him.
And we're kissing.
This comes. It's coming. It's coming.
This is what I'm living for right now, because
I
honestly,
know.
I'm like,
I could.
Oh,
oh.
I could. That's where we got to.
Shut up! I've missed so much of the conversation tonight. It's terrible.
Oh.
Because every time I freeze for you guys, you all freeze for me, and I don't know what's going on.
We just go, oh, Mel's frozen again.
Yeah, that's generally what happens.
I swear they're trying to force me onto the NBN.
Oh,
It's happening as soon as the wedding's over. I don't have headspace for it now.
No, don't stress it. Don't make yourself stress over that. Something
You know
will
what
go
I
wrong.
need to do? in the next
don't need
book?
any more
I
stress.
need to be on the NBN. Yes, I could do that and make my bouquet. Yes.
Oh, the bouquet's all done now.
Whatever.
Yay.
All done.
Did Nye make your bouquet holder?
Yes, he did.
Oh, he's a good boy.
I had a vase that I was using at the beginning, and I said, sweetie, this is not going to hold all of them, and I want to get them there somehow, and I don't want them to get damaged by laying on their side. What can you do?
And he solved that.
He said, I've got just the tool for that, and he drilled holes.
Yeah.
Project. Yes.
Yes, now if he could just finish the bookshelves, I'd be very happy.
That was his job for the wedding, right?
Yeah, he had to make the
One job.
bookshelves. Mm. I kind of wish he'd started sooner. I'm pretty sure he wishes he started sooner, but anyway.
So the next one is, what's going on between Nina and Matthias, which we've kind of already discussed. Do they love or hate one another, or are they conflicted feelings, flip sides of the same coin?
Pretty
How did they
obvious.
even ask that question?
I
Why?
love
know,
that
I'm
they
like,
hated
it's
each other
finished.
so
Obviously,
good.
this is all they want to do all day long. They want to hate fuck one another so hard.
It was like obvious from the beginning that all of their angst was completely because they were in love with
And
each
she-
other.
Love it.
You didn't hate her. You just had massive guilt over it.
Yeah.
He hated her with a lot of very good reason.
Yes, no,
Like-
he had a very good reason to hate her, but he hated her so much.
They both
I want to.
misunderstood each other.
He was in prison with animals. I mean, honestly, death would have been better.
But see, the thing is I think that his level of hate was grown from the fact that he was in love with her in the first place. I don't think he would have hated her that much if he hadn't.
Oh yeah, because he trusted her. He'd grown to trust her. He was falling in love with her, and then she would have pulled that shit.
But, I mean, like, it wasn't just an ordinary betrayal, right?
No, it was pretty full on. And I admittedly, like, when I was finding this, when she said she told them that I was a slave, I was like,
oh my god,
did you?
I was just waiting for the why.
And it was like, we didn't know that I was like, are you kidding me? No, I kind of thought he might do that. Like when Nina was caught by his old captain.
Yeah.
And like slammed the door in his face in the window. I was like, no, why? And then it flipped it again, and I was like, all right, that's okay. That's good. I like that now.
I can't remember the captain's name. I just like to think of him as douche pants.
Yeah, that's a very good name for him.
Yeah,
I've got to say, I was really. Sorry?
Isn't that his name?
I thought
douche pants.
I'm really grateful that scene didn't get dragged out. Like as soon as it happened, I knew it was going to be all fixed, but I was also like, oh God, how many chapters am I going to have to deal with this? And it was the next chapter. I was like, oh, thank God. So rare.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a really painful couple of chapters to read. Excuse me.
I honestly think, though, I wouldn't have gotten through this book if it wasn't for the audiobook.
Yeah. Just to follow up to that, what about the romance, or lack thereof, I don't know what these people are talking about, between Kaz and Inej? What does Inej mean when she says to Kaz, I will have you without armor, Kazbrecker, or I will not have you at all?
I refuse to answer this until the second book.
I thought the thing behind that was less about her, less about the touching, and more about him being open and honest with her.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, a second before that, he asked something about his brother and he didn't respond, did he? He made a big joke or said something flippant about it rather than answering the question.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that's what that was about, right?
Yeah, like I never thought that she loved him. Like it never came across, especially in book one, that she was in love with him. Like I think she more thought of him like a brother or like a great friend, like someone that she could confide in and care for, but not someone that she wanted to like be naked with.
I felt like they were.
I thought she had a little bit of a crush on him, but I didn't feel like she was in love with him. Yeah.
Like I didn't get these vibes.
They
These
were
vibes came
business
from
partners.
Nina and Wyland and Jesper, but Def's not Kaz and Inej.
Well,
Sorry.
from Kaz, but not from Inej.
I felt
I felt like she had the tiniest little crush that she was like, nah.
And then when he said there was something he said, and she had to think about it and went, oh, you know what? I could, but I couldn't unless you opened the hell up.
Yeah. I felt like it was more about that there was a possibility there for her, not that it was a definitely full-on committed thing. I felt like if there was anyone, it was him for sure, but I think she was right to be guarded.
Do you know what it is for me and why I don't feel it at all? Like, they had a boss-employee relationship for years, right? And then do you know what it is? I think she realizes that she is his equal. And that it's kind of the case of going, you need to see this too. Otherwise we can never, like, she's kind of realized, like, I was treated, because she did, she kept like keeping an eye on him and being like that, being like his lieutenant, even though he was lieutenant, she really was the lieutenant. And what she's saying is, I actually am ready to go off and start my own company, and you need to start seeing me as an equal in different ways, and then maybe something can grow from that. But that's how, because I don't get.
I felt more like he was obsessed with her rather than in love with her.
Yeah,
it was, and like that ownership over her as well.
Again, the employee boss thing, and it's kind of like, that's not going to work.
But at the same time, he realized that he couldn't do it without her. And when she started talking about like leaving and going away, I think he had a moment of panic that she was leaving him. And realized how he had treated her as well, but he's still hung up on all of his own internal personal muck up stuff that it's really difficult for him to break out of that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the rest we've already really spoken about. So there is one of fantasy / dystopian literature is frequently a veiled allusion to the ills of the contemporary society and perhaps serving as a warning what aspects of Ketterdam, though exaggerated, might be a reflection on our own 21st century society. I mean, we have kind of talked about like things that we do see reflected from our real world.
The plague scene.
Oh God, that was so disgusting. I was eating when that scene came on. And I was in a car, so I couldn't like just go do something else. I was stuck. So it was either turn it off or listen. It was awful.
Do you mean the swimming scene or the waking up?
The whole lot of it, the whole
that whole bit,
being like in and out of consciousness and being picked up by the
so
wagon
sad.
man.
Yeah, I was really sad. I found it.
I could see like sad. You know, parts of history in that was just so clear and like the wagon rolling down the street and dumping people into the
But that's why I find it so sad. I mean, I just because there's no dignity, there's no goodbye, there's just it's just awful.
That's it.
It makes me think of the Ebola breakouts that happen, and how but I mean, I think maybe it's partially because my friend Wendy did this amazing podcast series, and she did Ebola in one of them, and it's just incredibly sad story. It's really upsetting about like the dead, but it's heartbreaking when people have to not their loved ones are dying and they have to physically separate themselves away from them. Yeah, and it's just those are like so with his brother. Oh, I'm actually really teary-eyed about it. Like his brother is dead and still saved his fucking life.
Yeah.
His body saved his life. You know, this is what I think about all the bodies, but I think those are people, those are loved ones, those are people that their families couldn't bury them. So I kind of did different about that stuff. Like I'm not indifferent. I feel differently about it now. I'm sure I'd still find it horrifying, but it's, you know, that these were people with lives and families, and that's what I find so
and it's indiscriminate.
Yeah, it is so heartbreaking. And that whole scene where they got the fever and everything, I think I actually cried during it because it was just really
it was the fever dreams that he had as well about, you know, them enjoying themselves and eating pies on the bridge. You know, and then waking up and finding that his brother's gone. And that was freaking heartbreaking.
It was very heartbreaking.
I liked that explained what was going on in the wagon with him as well, though. Like, because before that scene, you see him get into the wagon and him freeze up, and you're like, "Why? What's going on here? Why? Why is this so?" What is? I didn't understand what was going on until after that scene. And you're like, "Oh, of course, it's the body."
Yeah.
You know?
In fact, that was the one thing one thing I found about Kaz that I actually found really forgiving, that I thought Inej, because she obviously the problem was he wasn't opening up and telling why. But like Inej couldn't understand. But what I wanted her to understand, that this is a totally understandable thing, that he's got a problem with touching people.
And in fairness, even without knowing that, I was actually really disturbed when they opened up the wagon and everyone was standing up, hooked up. I was upset. Like that.
I saw the chain gang, the Aboriginal chain gangs.
That's exactly what I was. I found that incredibly upsetting and disturbing. And again, not treating people as humans, despite
That's how slavery works, though.
And I then also had like little panic attacks about how that they were having to get themselves and lock themselves. Like that was like, I was like, oh, I don't know if I could have done this heist with you guys.
No, I couldn't have. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, no, it might be fucked. I couldn't not have done that in a million years. Like,
but then I don't think this is written to, you know, presume that anybody would have.
I mean, that's the thing. like, Kaz needed to know that whoever he took with him would be willing to do that.
Yeah.
That they would be willing to just do it without question. And I think that's why he picked the people that he picked, because he had power over them in some way, shape, or form.
Power,
He
or they
couldn't
were
just-
desperate enough.
Yeah, but he couldn't just pick the best person for the job, because the best person for the job may not necessarily be a person that he has power over.
Yeah. Because there's no, like, mind part way through and...
Yeah, there's no, like, it's not like, oh, we've got halfway and you don't want to go the rest of the way. Well, you can quit here. Like, once you're in, you're in. Like, there's no turning back.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that really humanized him for me and, like, excused a lot of his behavior for me as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, knowing that his crew didn't know that, we knew that, and so it excused it to us. But his crew didn't know that, so he was still a dick to them. Like,
yeah. In the end, he was not willing to be open and honest about himself.
And if he had just explained even a little bit of that, it would have, but it would have weakened him as well from their eyes, you know, like he is the leader.
It would have weakened him as a leader, but it would have gained him more loyal followers. That's the problem, and he
They
didn't
should have
see
done
that
it at the end. Like, he should have told Anesh at the end or something, a little bit, not the whole thing, but just a little bit, like a chink, you know?
Yeah.
It's just his inability to trust anyone after being conned the way he was. He just has no ability to trust anyone.
Once it happened, he survived by being a dirtbag, and that's how he's managed to survive. So he doesn't know any better, really.
Yeah, and he said something like quite truthful. Just knowledge is the power, right? Having secrets is way better than anything else. Like knowing things, like that's why he used Anesh for, was to gather the secrets, which I also thought was a shitty job, and that she'd have to. Like, I kept thinking about some of the secrets she would know, and that'd be awful things. Because I think about, like, my friend who was in the force for a long time, and the things that you see and hear, just, it would be, you need counselling. I put it that way. So I'm like, she's gathering the secrets, and I'm like, I know in this world it's a YA world, but the kind of secrets would be horrifying. So I was just like, about that. But yeah, it's like the knowledge is power. So he feels like I understand why he goes, well, if they have this is something that they know. But you make a really good point that he's kind of hasn't worked out and grown into being a leader who understands servant leadership, and that is actually the most powerful type of leadership. Is you're there to serve your people, to help them do their best job, and he hasn't worked out that the best way to endear people and to make them feel bonded and connected to you is to show some vulnerability, or to admit you're human and that you make mistakes. It was interesting because it was just interesting. Kevin was reading an article out about what people look for in their bosses and what people look for in their senior leaders, and that was one of the key things, is that you're human and you're going to get that I'm human, and that you share like something. It was really interesting that, you know, it's not what people think it is. That they have empathy, and that they share something of themselves.
He hasn't had to share anything like that with anyone since he lost his brother, though, right? And losing his brother.
He's young. I mean, if we believe in this, he's only 17. He's still a young leader.
Exactly.
Even if we believe he's 27, he would still be a young leader. Like he still hasn't had the years of experience and had that kind of epiphany that might happen accidentally. Maybe this is it, where he kind of goes, I just shared something of myself, and now I have an even stronger bond with my crew.
There was something he said as well, like about being born in the barrel and crawling out of the sewers of the barrel or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
That image was very much like him crawling out of the water after the plague and being reborn as
a completely different person,
rather than. You know, as
his name literally came from the machine that was on the dock, wasn't it? The Brecker. It was on the dock when he crawled out of the water, and he took that name. Yeah. Oh, just got to show you the babies.
Liking a little bit better now.
Oh,
Sleepy
God, look at
babies.
them. They've
The
collapsed.
babies are being good and sleeping together and not biting each other. Well, Tombo's not biting her.
Yeah, my boy.
Any more questions,
Yeah.
Naomi?
Okay. Were you surprised by the twists and turns of the plot, or did you see it coming?
I didn't
coming.
see that twist coming, but I did know that obviously they weren't going to get their money.
No,
Yes.
no, you knew that wasn't going to work.
Yeah, it's like I knew twists would come. I didn't know what would happen, but I knew there would be twists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I could see twists coming. I
It's
didn't
like,
know.
oh, you're not going to get your money. It's not going to be that easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
He
a
brought out
two.
the gold, and I was like, yeah, right. Like,
There's something I predicted that didn't happen. And you know how Nina's captain, her senior, who's
Zoya.
Zoya. Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I keep thinking I know that name Zoya because it's from
Zoya
Glow.
from the yes.
Does anyone watch our Glow? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Zoya.
Zoya. You are American. I spit on you.
Zoya, the destroyer.
If you haven't seen Glow, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, Zoya.
Without me.
I was expecting, when Nina was going through to looking for the dude, and they were in the prison for the Grisha. I was expecting Zoya to be there. That's the twist I was expecting.
Like the trilogies or something. I feel like she is more of a character than we know about in this book.
Zoya's in these ones.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought.
I thought because like the douchey McDouche pants is basically the opposite of Zoya. Like he's the devil to the Grisha, and she's the devil to the whatever you call him again.
Druskilla.
Druskilla, yeah.
Druskilla.
Yeah. They're
I
each
like
other's
that
big
the
bad.
The wolves were their companions as well, the Druskilla.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of that. I like wolves.
You should read the second book.
Yay!
So Zoya in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, she's 19.
Wow.
So the big scary person for the Druskilla is like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
I really feel like the ages in these books are all wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I can deal with her being young, but that just seems way too young to be that scary.
Yeah.
Or to have that much
to have built up that much of a
renown.
reputation.
Yeah.
And to be that kind of mentor, I was imagining she was like in her mid 30s to 40s.
I'd say at least like 20s. Yeah, I would have said at least like 20s to mid 30s.
I was actually thinking matronly, like, you know.
Yeah,
so was I.
Like, I mean, in a world where a lot of people are dying sort of in their 40s, I would have thought that she would have been sort of, early to mid 30s, like that sort of age, only because a lot of people are only, they don't reach any older than sort of 40 or maybe 50 at the oldest. Like, you don't, like, yes, you can reach, older ages, but a lot of people don't just because of the world that it is. Like, there isn't the food to go around.
Menagerie, wasn't
she was what?
Was she in the menagerie? That was she?
No.
No, she was in the White Rose.
Sorry, say that again. You cut out.
She was in the White Rose, Nina.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the brothel that she's a part of, but she's not a sex worker. She uses her heart render abilities to affect people. Like, she doesn't sleep with people.
Maybe that's
like,
why I thought she was so matronly, because she's in a brothel, but she's not in service there.
Oh, do you mean Zoya or Nina?
Zoya.
No, Zoya's not there. Zoya's off in another country.
Zoya's not there at all.
How did Zoya and Nina meet then?
Because before Nina was there, she was like a soldier in the army.
Yeah, and Zoya was her superior.
Zoya is her like teacher or like mentor.
All right.
Yeah. The thing Kim said was the thing that I was thinking, like, not just how can she be that scary at that age, but how has she been able to build up that reputation, especially in a world where there's it's not like there's media. It's not like they're all glued to TV screens and the war's being projected on the screen.
And
like, it's got to take time for word to travel. How does the whole nation know about this 19-year-old girl that's so, like how long has she been scary that everyone knows who she is?
Yeah.
It's not like it's instantaneously on their screens. Like, it's not like like
it's not like
what it would be
what-
like for us, where you'd be seeing it on TV every day.
Yeah, there's no fast news cycle.
What Naomi
No.
pointed out earlier about, you know, we're used to aging later now. You know, we put
that's-
all of this stuff back later, whereas I think this is set more in the earlier time, and so people age quicker because they die quicker and they have to age quicker, right?
I know.
So,
I feel like 19's perhaps still a bit too soon
I
for
do
that
too.
reputation.
I
Yeah.
do too.
I definitely, because I got the sense that even that she had a good amount of time on her, in the same way that Matthias's captain seemed like she seemed like the equivalent of Matthias's captain, who sounds like he's in his early to
Even
mid 30s.
Matthias, I thought, was a lot older than like
Agreed.
Me too! Oh my
17,
God.
18, 19. That's
Well, he's 18.
Mhm.
Everyone else is 16, and he's 18. So he's a
It feels
bit
like
older.
90210, right?
But the thing is,
How
like the way
cool.
that Nina talks about how Zoya trained her and sort of mentored her, it does feel very like Zoya should be more than 2 years older than her.
Yeah.
And like, they spent a significant amount of time together for that to happen as well. Like, how much time did they spend together?
I would have accepted 21. 18,
Yeah,
yes.
maybe.
19's just too young.
21,
Yeah.
22, 23, maybe.
Yeah,
Well, the website does say approximately, so I mean, I don't know where they're getting their information from. It's just a wiki.
Yeah.
But the next question is if the it says if Six of Crows is the first installment of a series, which we know that it is, will you read the next volume?
We have to now.
Yeah, we have to.
And not just because Naomi
Because
picked
I'm a
it.
hoe.
I can imagine if it wasn't.
I need kisses.
Yeah, we need this.
Imagine if it wasn't though. Like if this was the only book, how pissed off would you be with that ending?
Oh, God,
At least
yeah.
knowing that there was a second one.
Oh. I was annoyed that
At
they
least
couldn't have ended it a chapter earlier than that. Like,
At
oh.
least it's a duology and not a freaking like 7-part series where you go,
True.
I'm going to get to the end of every book and I'm going to be fucked off at the end of every book.
I'm just
Because
really glad that she doesn't use as many
just do
words
what
as
she
Brandon
does,
Sanderson.
and just, you know, if you want to have a story set in the same world, just make another series where it's set in the same world
Yeah,
with
which is
different
what you did.
characters.
Yeah.
That's what you did, which is great. Do
Yes,
that.
yeah, do that. At
Yeah.
least then we don't have like 20 books.
And you can
I can
choose
see
how much you
Kiki's
want to
head.
read to get the story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can see Kiki's head. It's like just off the side, like this disembodied head.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's looking at.
Meow.
One of her toy mouses is in the hallway. She might be looking at that. Because I don't see her
It
brother.
suddenly appeared as well. It's
Yeah.
like, meow.
Any more questions?
No, that was the last one.
That was really
They were
good.
good questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
Well,
good
that's what I'm
chat
going to do
too.
next time. Just going to Google.
That's what I do all the time. I just didn't do it on this one because, sorry, brain not working 100%.
No,
not
that's
100%.
absolutely fine.
Neither.
All right. Are we finished talking about the book? Should I stop the broadcast?
Does anyone
yeah.
have anything else they would like to add before we finish up for the evening?
I like the book.
Yep.
I
wasn't at first, but I did by the end.
for the first time, I'm cranky. I can't do half stars.
What would you give
First
it?
time?
What would you give it?
You said for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time. I actually don't have a problem with the star rating system on Goodreads. I'm fine with it because I'm sort of like, if you give me more, I always just want more halves. You always want it, so I'm just like, have let it go. But I'm really cranky because this is not a 3-star book for me and it is not a 4-star book for me. I want to give it half a star.
So in that case, you give it 3 stars, and then you write your review and you say 3.5. Damn it!
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
That's not how I feel about it, actually, Mel. About 3.5-star book.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think 3.5's about right. It's almost a 4.
It's
But
all, yeah,
because of all those missing bits, it feels like it's a little bit holy at the moment. Maybe after book 2, I might feel book 2's more of a 4.
yeah.
I think I
Right.
gave it a 4, but felt kind of 3.5 as well. But I tend to
That's
round
but
up.
we'll see.
If I'm thinking 3.5, I tend to put
All of your
4.
monsters.
Which is why-
Okay.
It's why 9 out of like 9. probably 9 out of 10 books on my thing are 4 stars because it's like either it's a solid 4 star or it's a 3.5, and I was like, oh, I'll give it 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
don't like
need
giving
a
it 3.
I think I'd be all right with 1 to 5 stars and a 7 to 10. 7 out of 10, 1 to 5 stars or a 7 out of 10.
Gotcha.
All right.
I think you can stop now.
We're good.
Okay, stopping now. Hope anybody who was watching enjoyed. Good night.
Good night.